Hello everyone, and welcome to another game I played on Ptcgo. For this match I'm going to be trying out a Keldeo, Blastoise, and Miltank deck, so just a little bit different take. It seems like Blastoise Keldeo has fallen out of favor, so I figure I'll pair it with Miltank and see what happens. As you can see, I'm favored to win this match, and for whatever reason it showed me the type of cards my opponent was playing, which I think is weird. I hope it's a glitch. So my opponent starts off with a Shiftry, with a C dot, so it's a Shiftry deck. And here I play an N and get a handful of supporters, a bicycle, a dowsing machine, and a pal pad, so not really good. My opponent's going to put down another C dot, attach who's active, put down a Dusknoir and a Miltank of his own. So we'll see Miltanks on both sides of the field, which is a pretty good attacker if you're playing any stage 3s because it's cheap to attack, and with a muscle band it can do quite a bit of damage. So here I'm actually going to do something weird here. I'm going to dowsing machine, getting rid of 2 supporters to bring back that N, and then I'm going to use pal pad to bring back those supporters into my deck. And then I'm going to bicycle, hoping this one card I get will be something better than what I have. And what do you know? It's Juniper. So that handful of supporters didn't go all to waste. I didn't want to discard all of them, but I had to maneuver and get rid of a dowsing machine to do that. So I'm just going to attach another water energy and a muscle band onto Keldeo. And my opponent has a C dot in the active with a grass energy, which he used last turn for Call for Family. He has another Miltank on the bench, and it looks like a Phoebus, so he's going to be going for my Lodic eventually. But first we see an Ultra Ball for a Shiftry and a Rare Candy into Shiftry. So it has a pretty cool ability, which I think it lets you discard a grass energy to draw 2 cards, I believe. And that's what we're going to see my opponent do. And my opponent is now going to evolve into my Lodic, which also has a cool ability. You can knock it out and take 3 energy cards from your discard pile and attach it to Pokemon, or to a Pokemon, I think, on your side of the field. I don't know if you can attach it to multiple, but I do think it's at least one. So we're going to see him, my opponent, activate that ability, knocking out my Lodic, and I get to take my first prize. Fortunately for me, he only has 1 grass energy, so he won't be able to attack unless he has some other way of getting an energy on Shiftry this turn. So we see an level ball, and this is important because my opponent's attack, I believe it's called deranged dance, does 20 times the number of benched Pokemon. So here his bench size and my bench size are important, although I will say it's probably more important for him. So we see a manual retreat into Miltank. I'm going to attach to Keldeo water and then play a chorus. I get a Miltank of my own, I'm going to bench it, bench a Squirtle and a Keldeo. So I'm not too worried about bench size here because it'll ultimately be inconsequential. Because of weakness, he can actually knock me out by basically just having a full bench. He can knock anything on my side of the field out. So what I do is less important, and that's why I'm sort of playing carelessly on my end. My opponent's going to promote his Miltank into the active spot and play down another Phoebus, and then play a chorus for 10. So one thing my opponent's going to do is play through his deck rather quickly. We see another Shiftry come out, and a Rare Candy into a third Shiftry. So this is getting a little scary since he can use those to knock out my Keldeos. So I may not want to continue to attack, but I do have a 2 prize lead at this point. He's going to attach a Silver Bangle into Miltank. Use Shiftry's ability, discarding another grass energy and drawing 2, it looks like. And we see an Ultra Ball. He discards a Floatstone and a Skyla. And then we see Dusknoir. So this is a little bit scary. A Rare Candy into Dusknoir means he can manipulate damage, but I think this might be hard for him since if he attacks with Shiftry, it's a one-shot knockout. However, Miltank will do more than enough damage to move around and knock out that Squirtle on the next turn if you wanted to. So we see him do 110 to Keldeo. And going into my turn, I can use that Ultra Ball to get something into play, but I don't have a rare candy, so it may not be worth it. So I'm just going to evolve into Wartortle, attach to Miltank, and then just use Secret Sword for 130, thanks to Muscle Band. That's enough to get the knockout here. And I draw a prize. So here I'm going to wait to see what my opponent sends up. It's a Shiftry. But unfortunately for me, he has no energy left in play here. So the only way he'll be able to attack is if he discards another Milotic, or if he has a Miltank in the background that he can switch into. So we're going to see an N from him, and then he's going to activate Shiftry's ability, sending another Grass Energy into the discard pile. So he's running through his deck rather quickly. We see another activation of Shiftry's attack. And he finally draws into a Miltank, but the question here is if he has a switch or not. And we see deranged stance, the attack. I was just looking at it. So here, that is the only way he'll be able to pull off an attack is if he can muster a switch or an escape rope of some sort. Since he can't use Floatstone. And we see a switch. So that is not good. So he'll be able to use Powerful Friends here. And we see him use a Professor's Letter and get nothing. He only has 10 cards left in his deck, and the game is still far from over. So here he's going to actually move damage around with Dusknoir. So like I said, since he did 110 last turn to Keldeo, he can move damage around and potentially knock out Wartortle here if he wanted to. But that does mean he can't knock out the active Keldeo with the Powerful Friends. If he moves out enough damage counters to do that. But he may decide that that's worth the risk or not. So actually here, he's going slow because I think he's coming to that realization. So we see him move 3 damage counters onto Wartortle. And now we see him actually start doing the opposite. So he's going to, well, here move a 4th. Then he starts moving them back onto Keldeo because he actually wants to knock out Keldeo. So he wants enough damage on Keldeo to ensure the knockout. So he moves 1 off of Wartortle back onto Keldeo. And he's going to move, I think, a second one here. He can only move 2 off and ensure the knockout here. So he's going to leave that and Powerful Friends for 80 and the knockout on Keldeo. So here all my energy just left the board with the exception of the one on Miltank. So I guess I'll attack with that. Unfortunately, I was able to top deck an N. So here I was going to bench Keldeo, but I realized that's a dumb play. I'm just going to Ultra Ball it away along with the Starling Megaphone and get myself a Blastoise. So I can evolve that Wartortle, making sure that it's not in danger of getting picked off by Dusknoir just yet. And I'm going to N. So I do get my 1 max potion that I play here. I won't use it yet, but if he decides that he wants to knock out Blastoise, he has to do it in 1 fell swoop, or else I can just max potion. And I'm just going to Powerful Friends for 80. And speaking of that, my opponent pulls out a Lysander and brings up Keldeo. Sorry, brings up Blastoise. So he's going to hit it for 80, and now it has 100 damage. Dangerously close to knockout, but fortunately here I'm just going to play that max potion. And I will play a Bicycle, drawing 2 cards. Fortunately, one of those is a Muscle Band that I'll just attach onto my Keldeo on the bench. And here I can Juniper the remainder of my hand. And I actually get something quite decent here. So I can Escape Rope. This will allow me to send up Miltank into the attacking position, since Blastoise has a high retreat cost. And I don't just want to rush in and manually retreat right now. So I'm going to send up Miltank. He sends up Shiftry. I won't be able to knock it out, but I can Professor's Letter here, getting 2 energies, and I will use those to power up this Keldeo on the bench, because it can actually one-shot these Shiftrys, but the return knockout will be very easy to get, so I don't want to be attacking with Keldeo quite yet. I will just Powerful Friends for 80, and now my opponent plays an N, bringing me back down to 3, like he did last turn, and himself to 4. We see a level ball, but it's failed. He has only 11 cards in his deck. A DCE goes on to Shiftry, but he'll need another grass energy in order to be able to attack. And here he just uses it to manually retreat and go into Miltank and hit me with Powerful Friends. So here I actually am fortunate enough to get a superior energy retrieval. So I'm going to use that, get the 3 energy cards out of my discard pile, and use this to load up my bench with energy. So I'm going to commit 1 more to Keldeo, allowing it to do 130, I believe, so 110 with the energy, and then 20 more thanks to Muscle Band. And I'm going to also commit some energy to Suicune, just in case I want to attack with that. I might have gone 1 more with Keldeo just to ensure an easy one-shot, but my mistake there. So Powerful Friends here for the knockout and get another prize. So I have 2 more to go, and my opponent here is going to Skyla. So I wonder what he will go for. He can knock me out with Shiftry if he gets a grass energy, and he goes for an energy retrieval. So he'll actually be able to get a grass energy in play. And it looks like that's what he's going to do. He'll hit me with Deranged Dance. But first, he's going to use Dusknoir to move some of that damage off of Miltank onto the bench Squirtle. So it's just a sitting duck, or turtle if you will, or squirrel, whatever combination. And it'll get knocked out, unfortunately. And my opponent will be able to take 2 prizes this turn. So he's going to be able to tie it up thanks to this Sinister Hand shenanigans. And unfortunately, it also leaves him with a powered up Shiftry that can easily one-shot my Keldeo. So in this next turn, I have to draw energy to take the knockout, or else I don't think I'll be able to survive another turn. So as we can see, my opponent finally finishes up Sinister Hand and knocks out my Squirtle, and now he'll attack the active Miltank and take the second knockout like that. He might have gotten something interesting off the prizes, because we see him waiting, but he's actually going to Sinister Hand more off the Miltank, because he realizes, hey, I can actually knock it out with 100 HP, so why leave any damage counters on it? He's going to move them on to Suicune, and here just take the knockout, dealing a massive 160. So quite unfortunate for me. I'm going to send up Suicune. I'm fortunate enough to draw a bicycle and a water energy and a juniper off that bicycle. So with that water energy, I will be able to do 130, I think. So with this other energy I just drew, I can actually just take the knockout. So I can rush in here and essentially make it so my opponent has no response. So here I'm going to rush in and attack, but it looks like my opponent realizes and just concedes. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the match.